So many hearts will be broken over the course of the next few hours. So many big names, so many recognizable stars of this sport will be making their exit, including one of these two. And I think Jeremy Jones, it's a really tough one to call. But I will say, Woodward has got momentum on his side.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Max, you know, can do as well as anyone to leave the last match behind, and it was a big match to qualify. He was a favorite. Now his opponent did play really well. I got to watch quite a bit of it. But yeah, Max has got to get on with it here. He's a big breaker though, and you know the break can really get you going.
The story so far for Max Lechner, the event began well. He beat Masato Yoshioka 9-2, then lost 9-5 in a real upset to Amir Ali from Iraq.
Yeah, but like I said, Ali, I got to watch it. He played a solid match behind a few mistakes from Lechner. And, you know, I think Lechner, you know, who had some incredible results, you know, in the last 2 years, not as much this year so far, but I think maybe feels a little pressure to get it over that line like another fellow Austrian, Mario He. But again, he's a big breaker of the balls, and he displayed it right here in the opening rack. That can get you going as much as anything. Expect this to be a tight one though, Phil. And I don't mean tight with the arm, just with the score.
It's not tight over on table one though. Look at this, 2 balls left for Johan Chur to knock out Albin Auschen. Twice a champion, also a beaten finalist in the World 9-Ball Championship, the Austrian. But I'm afraid not this year. He's been in a fallow period in his career where things haven't gone well for him, Albin Auschen. And nothing has changed in Saudi Arabia. He's been beaten 9-3 by Johan Chur.
Yeah, and you know, it was you and I that did the Jason Shaw Chua match earlier today, and I kind of felt like Chua would play pretty solid. He played pretty well in that match. It was 2 balls that he missed, the 4 and the 7, that I think you could overlook just because they were that easy. They were that playable. It wasn't like a nervy shot right on the heat of the moment. And you know, I think he breaks the balls really well and got out to a lead and held it. We have another hill match, though, I think, going on between Conrad Jushishin and Huang from Vietnam. That's also on the streaming table, the Matchroom Multisport YouTube channel. You can see how closely ranked these 2 players are, number 15 and 16 on the World 9-Ball Tour. So that tells us anything about the match. And you know, you won't really think that Skyler would, you know, be conscious of anything that I'm about to say, but we all are. And he can do himself a lot of favors looking ahead, trying to get big points and make it off points into that Mosconi Cup instead of using one of those wild card spots. So a big match moving forward with all kinds of implications. Little light there with the cue ball. This is an odd one. Anytime you're behind the ball, it kind of makes the pocket a hair smaller, believe it or not.
I'll tell you what, when we were at the UK Open in Telford recently, that would not have dropped. He must be immensely relieved that 9 balls somehow found its way into the pocket in very unconvincing fashion.
Yeah, and you know, mentally we'll see what that does for him, but I don't think it would have dropped on one of the outer tables either. Just you know, the stream and the main tables, they play a little drier.
This is Max Lechner, Maximilian to give him his full formal name. His most notable finish, as you can see, runner-up in the 2022 US Open. 2024 has not been a good year for him. First round defeat in the World Masters, lost in the last 64 of the UK Open. Best performance in a minor event in Modena, Italy, the Marina Open, where he was 5th. But I'm sure those numbers will improve. As for Skyler Woodward, he's from Paducah, Kentucky, but he's now based in Texas.
Rack 2.
Two-time Mosconi Cup MVP. That's when he's been at his very, very best.
Yeah, I played a tough one with Rico Rampanen last night. Said he was kind of sluggish, you know, a long trip. Been here several days though, and said he felt a lot better, slept real well last night. So given the opportunity, I think he's going to perform. We'll just see how the 9 balls lay out for him tonight.
Yes, he made a slow start, as you say, against Rico Rampanen, but he won that match 9-4, and of course he badly needed to, because he'd lost his first match against Kuo Po Cheng of Chinese Taipei by the same score. Not an easy draw, though, Kuo, in the first round.
No, I think 2 times runner-up in the World Pool Championships, World 9-Ball Championships, and he's gone on to qualify, so turning back the clock. Taking on the jump.
Foul stroke. Ball in hand.
Yeah, try to hit it kind of subtle. A little worried about the angle, and of course the end rail near. Didn't want to fly the cue ball off the table and caught the pink. Now I'll tell you another thing that comes in these players' mind, because I've seen more fouls on the jump this week than I've seen, you know, maybe not on the main tables, but in the tournament itself that I've seen in a while. And they know the Rassens actually jump a little easier, so maybe trying to play a bit of speed control. Now he'll open the 4-8 here with the 2 looming over the right middle. Put a lot of speed into that. You know, when the balls are near each other, it doesn't take a whole lot to open them. Lots of tight matches going on. Better Gorst and Amaretto in a battle.
Yes, I know a lot of you are interested in what's going on table 10. Well, Kyle Amaretto took a 6-4 lead. Now, though, Fedor Gorst has battled back to 6-all. Now on table 2, the closest to our commentary position, I can tell you that on the pink 4 ball, Konrad Yuzhushin had ball in hand. So could he be in to knock out the Vietnamese #1, Duong Quoc Quang? He could be. He most certainly is.
Yeah, and interesting that he had the 8 ball cleaned right there. He must have saw some kind of mark on it or something he didn't like. Just got to push forward here off the brown 7. And Conrad's such a great guy, of course, Wang as well, and a guy that's been coming along.
Vietnam is highly disappointed. Konrad Yuzhushin over the moon. He comes through by the odd rack in 17 at 9-8. Duong Quoc Quang, I'm afraid, will have to set his sights on winning the World Championship in 12 months' time.
Yeah, didn't get a ton out of the cue ball. I don't think that was by design, but if he can bear down and pocket this 5, he should push the 7 into a little easier position. Don't let the cue ball float behind the 8 somehow. He's going to get some distance here on the 7, but he knew the 8 was very playable, so didn't mind that. Didn't want to get thin on the brown.
Encouraging that one, the way he knocked that particular pot in.
Well, he's playing at a nice pace. You know, I don't know if that's by design or what. You know, we always talk about Max's technique. You know, in the later stages, you know, he's a little more, you know, what's the right word? A little more abrupt with the stroke maybe, and very straight cueing, and of course possesses a lot of power, but at times can get a little snatchy, like all of us really.
Yes, his timing is compromised by pressure, but in the first 2 racks here, he's looked pretty good. Let me give you 2 more results. João Griot from Portugal is through, beating Abdullah Al-Shamari from right here in Saudi Arabia 9-6. And that was also the scoreline, 9-6 for Wu Kunlin, one of the semi-finalists last year, against Daniel Maceiol. Now let's just take a quick look at table 9, where this is an extraordinary battle of youth against experience. And that's Carl Naderberg potting the 9 to stay in the match against Ralph Suke.
Yeah, Nadenberg had a 2 or 3 game lead early. Suke maintaining, understanding how these matches change or can change, as they often do.
When you think, Jeremy, that Ralph Suke won this championship in 1996 in Sweden,
leading 2 racks to 0,
10 years before Carl Naderberg was born.
Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed the soda cans here, right? They have the old pullback tabs, and some of the guys, the younger ones, I asked them, I bet y'all have never even seen these before, and they're like, no, never have. And I said, well, watch it. They're a little dangerous at times, but brings back old memories. I know that. Trying to pop open a Coca-Cola as a young kid. Well, again, he's a big breaker. We said that at the beginning, and that can really get you going. Now he wants to float this a bit. 2-5 really is not really missable for Max. And kind of evaluate from there. May play a breakout on the 3-9 if it's there, or just some type of safety. Wants to float to hold the 2 though. Now he's gotten the cue ball, I think, kind of near. Oh, no, he's okay. Did fall straight, so it should be a safety coming on the 3 after knocking in the 2. Couple of Americans about to tee it off for the tournament life. Jeremy Sose and Billy Thorpe matching up in this losers qualification. And really welded the cue ball, cutting off the right side rail. One of the most savvy players I know in all kinds of ways. Skyler Woodward's got to find a good way to get at the red 3. Should be 2 cushions off the top short rail.
Time and again he proves himself to be a really astute escapologist, but this will test him.
Yeah, get the feeling if he does hit it, he might knock it in that corner. Yeah, he's just a player that his pull instincts, and you know, some people say IQ, which is certainly something he has and every player acquires as they play, but instincts are a bit different in my opinion. Skyler's spending so much time playing in all kinds of places and different types of tables and disciplines. I think it really helps.
Well, of course, his last competitive involvement was in that massive Buffalo's Pro Classic down in Louisiana, playing 1 pocket. Bit of a culture shock here, but of course he will adapt, we know that.
Yeah, a little bit different food, both very humid though, New Orleans and Jeddah. But yeah, quite different. Both very stressful though, and you know, that's something he can adapt to or handles very well, and now he's got a good look at the red 3. He just got to settle himself. A little bit of a long ball type of shot where the pocket does play a little snugger. Can't use the side rail.
Not a bad year so far for Skyler Woodward individually. 7th in the Premier League, last 16 of the UK Open. Won a smaller event in your home state, Jeremy, in spring in Texas, the Big Time Classic, and he's a big time player, so that was an appropriate title for him.
Yeah, that's in the Houston area, and not far from where I was born, actually. Just on the north side of Houston. Is he going to draw by the 8, coming kind of directly at the 7?
His big 9-ball successes, apart from MVP at Moscow Cup, won the Derby City Classic 9-ball in 2019. 4 years before that, the Texas Open.
And both events, of course, the Derby and the Texas Open. The Texas Open, the longest running 9-ball event in the United States, consecutive running. If you look at the list of players that have won that event, it's pretty impressive. It seems both players very prepared for this so important match.
Skyler Woodward wins
And
the rack.
even though it is early days, that was a very important rack for Skyler Woodward to win, especially that he was in a really tough hook early on in that rack. But he turned things around, and now Max Lechner's lead reduced to 2-1. This is Jeddah. That is the fan zone outside the Prince Abdullah Al Faisal City Sports Hall. What an extraordinary complex this is. What an extraordinary championship. The welcome we've received here has been as warm as the weather. As for Ralph Souquet in Pool's generation game, oh, the 7-ball stuck over the pocket. He can't quite believe it. And from there, Carl Naderberg knocked in the 3 balls he needed to make it hill-hill. Ralph Souquet, old enough to be Naderberg's grandfather, but in the decider, who will be the daddy?
Rack 4. Skyler Woodward to break, trailing 2 racks to 1.
Yeah, this is the area where Skyler's really put in the work, breaking in. Of course, trying to improve it. Wow, how does that 1 ball not fall? Maybe the 2 will help him. Yeah. Now, does he have the angle to go for a cross-side bank? If it's there, he'll certainly shoot it. Didn't sound like the best connection with the rack. Sounded a little combo-ish. Not sure I like this angle, but it may be there. It's really a natural if the 2 does play cross-side. He can hit it with just a high left ball. Going to the side rail, in rail, and back down for the 3.
Wally mulls over this. He is the US Mosconi Cup captain this year. An integral part of his side will be Fedor Gorst, who has taken the lead against Kyle Amorotto at 7-6. Gorst doing things the hard way.
Yeah, it's really odd the week he's had. I mean, really maybe a little fortunate to be in this position. The match he lost in the opener, I didn't get to watch the match with the end that much last night. I know it was a grind, but ball control there, I don't know. It's close. But the opening match he lost was, you know, to be honest, probably the worst match I've ever seen him play, and it wasn't like he missed every rack or anything, and his opponent did play pretty well overall, but we're just used to more of that machine-like Federgorst.
Well jumped.
Yeah, and quite a lot of control because there wasn't a ton of angle. Easy to draw that too much, trying to catch two cushions and scratching that upper right. We'll see about Federgorst, and some of the biggest stories in sports, and certainly in 9-ball pool, have been when players have struggled. We've talked about that with Albert Ocean many times, where he's turned things around mid-tournament and looked like the class when it came to the end.
Yeah, there are no guarantees about reaching single elimination regardless of your reputation, but if Gorst were to lose together with Ocean and Biardo before the last 64, that would be a remarkable trio.
And of course the pressure, you may label it as far as something like that. Man, Max has really picked it up from his last match, it seems, but it's just how much better the other players are improving. Shoot that gap between the 6-9 off of one cushion. Oh, between the 7-8, really nice. Thought he had to put a little more on it.
"34 years of age, Max Lechner. He's been playing top-level pool for quite some time now. He's won Austrian championships in 4 different disciplines of the game. And he has been deep in a world championship before, quarter-final 2 years back.
Nice little cannon on the 7 there, and smartly played.
What a confidence-inducing rack this is. He's taken it really well.
Yeah, the jump on the 2, maybe more impressive, the play on the 3 from some distance and a thin cut as well. Kind of feel the confidence all of a sudden from Lechner. Again, after a big loss in the last round.
Max Lechner wins the rack.
3-1 it is. Not such good news for Tyler Steyer. He was 7-6 up on Bernie Regulario, but the teenager from the Philippines has won the last 2 racks to reach the hill. Hussein Maroom from Bahrain, 7-all with Roland Garcia, former runner-up in this championship. Sanyan Pilovanovic on table 7 on the hill against Phuong Nam Pham at 8-6. John Morra 4-2 on Ian Pekinyak. Patrick Gonzalez just starting out against Darren Appleton, who has taken the second rack to equalise. Francesco Candela beaten heavily by Shane Van Boning earlier. He's trying to bounce back against Georgi Georgiev, and he's 2-1 ahead. For the big focus of attention. has to be Ralph Souquet. He missed the 7-ball in the penultimate rack, and now the 7 poses the examination again, Jeremy.
Yeah, and I tell you, this, I don't think it's as thin as it looks. He's cueing a little downward, so he's going to kind of float this in with a little spin, come 2 rails out to the center.
Rack 5. Max Lechner to break, leading 3 racks to 1.
The 7 is in, 8 and 9 needed for the great Ralph Souquet, and I use that term advisedly, to make it into the last 64. He's a true warrior.
Yeah, he was here when we were coming in early today. We walked in together and trying to get 2 more balls down to walk in early again tomorrow. Looks like he's going to handle it. Can't expect the Hall of Famer and ex-world champion to miss this.
That was like a real-life enactment of the colour of money. The veteran against the up-and-comer, and in the end, it's the 6 times World Masters champion who just about edges it. Ralph Souquet, the Kaiser, reigns supreme at 9-8. We'll see him again tomorrow.
And I tell you, Skyler, who's had to come with incredible kick shot and then a couple big shots to get on the board in the first game, he's going to have to do the same here. He's got to look at the 3. The 4's ahead of him. Gotta believe he goes for this. Could play off the right side of the 4, trying to bring the cue ball behind, or excuse me, right side of the 2, trying to bring the cue ball behind the pink 4. It lays fairly natural, but again, Max so good with the short cue. The 2's going to be near. I think I got to go if I'm Skyler. And you could get the snooker that way as well, or at least let's say maybe not leave him an offensive shot. Doing this with a little right spin, so I think it's the safety maybe. Now he went for the long ball.
The man from Wisconsin, Tyler Steyer, is out. Beaten 9-7 by Bernie Regalario.
Extension called.
Better Gorse now on the hill at 8-6 over Amarato. Yeah, pretty good stuff there from Max. Left the right side of the blue too, so Skyler should have a play here. He's got to hit it well though from some distance. You can see that, and cueing near the cushion. So he's got to hit the right side. He's got to play it pretty thin. Use the 4 to hold the 2 ball while coming near the purple with the cue ball. And kind of hook. This may scratch. Maybe.
Foul stroke. Ball in hand. Please start the clock.
Yeah, held the 2 nicely, but again, the slick table, maybe a bit more speed or too much speed, and it hooked on him a little bit. Didn't get the path that he wanted. our only lady in the event, Pia Filler. She's still in it. She's about to tee it off with Hunter Lombardo of America. Again, Hunter can't take her lightly at all. Of course, Hunter's a little favorite, I would say, but Pia, I tell you, she's a bulldog out there, and she's not looking to give anything away, and sure plays with a lot of confidence.
Max Lechner wins
He's
the rack.
winning racks in all different ways, but Max Lechner is winning the majority of the racks. He's 4-1 ahead and looking good. Now let's magically get on our flying carpet over to table 2, where Chang Junlin is taking on Mohamed Soufi with that very distinctive cue action and the flying elbow. Soufi, runner-up last year. Wonderfully heartwarming story. Can he go deep again?
Rack 6.
Filipino Roland Garcia on the hill against Hussein Maroum at 8-7 now. 8-7 for Sanyan Pilavanovic over Phuong Nam Pham, who refuses to go away quietly.
I'll tell you, maybe the biggest comeback in the tournament then, because I'm pretty sure Roland was down 7-1 in that match. I know 7-2 for sure. I was over there kind of sweating it before this match began. And Roland, of course, he's a fighter, and no one's given up anyways in any tournament, but especially here. Now things are going good for Max. He breaks the balls really well, but he's getting shots as also and taking advantage. He's got a little bit of a tough one on the 2 here, but not too bad with the cue ball near. May have to elevate and draw the cue ball back a bit. That angle, I think he can just kind of stun towards it without the draw stroke, but we'll see. One thing about Soufi that you gotta love is he really doesn't consider himself an underdog against anyone. I mean, he really plays like and feels like he's supposed to win. The more I see him, the more I believe it.
Well, given his backstory, playing pool, it's not pressure.
Yeah, absolutely, and we all learned so much about him at last year's World Pool Championships, and not just his game, of course, what you were alluding to.
Yeah, basically, he was a refugee from Syria, from the civil war there, went to Germany, but the journey was harrowing, to say the least. He was forced to pilot a boat in the middle of the night across the sea from, I think it was Turkey to Greece, and basically forced at gunpoint.
Yeah, and I guess after that he had to basically walk, right, over a month's time to get to Germany, and maybe, I don't know how it is in Europe, maybe hitchhike. I don't know exactly how it goes, but I guess that looked a little more doable after making that boat ride. But man, what an incredible story, and a guy that plays with a lot of confidence, and I really love watching him play myself.
Yes, just to complete the story, he was on a very modest refugees allowance in Germany for a number of years, so much so that he couldn't afford to get public transport to the pool hall in the city where he lives. He couldn't afford to pay for the table time, and so he practiced the bare minimum, and yet he turned up at the World Championship last year and came within 3 racks of donning the crown. Since then, of course, that World Championship has transformed his life and his career, and since then he's won a couple of titles in Europe, and he's established as a star on our tour.
Yeah, he went on to win the Euro Tour right after. I think he beat FSR in the final of that Euro Tour, who beat him in the final of the World Pool Championships, now recently winning another Euro Tour before this event.
Yeah, basically we found the story out by chance. I commentated on the first semi-final last year, and he won it, did Sufi, beating Wu Kun Lin. And so I thought, well, I better get a little bit more background information on this lad, because he's not well known going into the final. And he told me his life story through an interpreter, Abdullah Al Yusuf, who played in this event, who did a great job. And it turned out to be one of the most incredible stories I've ever broadcast or ever written, because I did the big piece for Billiards Digest in the end.
And I'll tell you, Max Lechner is not fooling around here.
Yeah, while we've been talking about Sufi, Max Lechner just keeps on his efficient way.
Yeah, and I watched, again, a lot of that loss in the last round. It's almost like either he had a talking to or he had a talking to with himself. He just looks like a different player, very confident.
Max Lechner,
Said, I'm going to go down swinging.
It is 5-1, and that means Max Lechner is more than halfway to defeating Skyler Woodward, and he's looking good in doing so. Welcome back to the World 9-Ball Pool Championship, where so many people have gathered around table 10, and that's because Kyle Amorotto has just potted that 9-ball to take it hill against Fedor Gorsht. And of course, in the winner breaks format, Amorotto breaks off in the decider. Could Gorsht be departing?
Thank you, rack 7. Max Lechner to break, leading 5 racks to 1.
And you can just see how he does so well. You know, the break is such a big part of the game, and not quite as big as it used to be, but still something that has a major mark on how these matches start, and a lot of times how they end. Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll pan over it sometime here, but get a look at that heel match between Gorsht and Amorotto. See, Gorsht is at the table, though.
In other outside table news, Sanyan Pelovanovic has beaten Phuong Nam Pham 9-7. Also through with a wonderful comeback. Roland Garcia 9-7 over Hussein Maroom of Bahrain.
Extension cool.
Yeah, like I said, I was wanting to go get a look at Hussein, but just because of that scoreline and just wondering, was it Roland making a bunch of mistakes, or is this player that good? It was 7-1. I'd almost bet on it. He won 8 on the spin, as y'all like to say. Sometimes you need a roll. I don't know if the 7 helped him out here or not. Skyler made sure he didn't foul at least into the 3 like he did on that jump early in the match. They see Lechner return the favor with the jump cue.
So close to ball in hand that for 2 reasons. 1, the scratch. 2, the white could have easily come off the table.
Extension call.
And got a little bit of a look at the 2. I'm surprised he's not entertaining trying to do something directly. I know it's not great, but at least it's a guaranteed hit, right? I mean, if you kick at this, you could scratch off of it, you could whiff it. I think he's got to try and create something here off the bottom of the 2. The 7's a little too far away to jump it, realistically anyways. Yeah, and I like that. I mean, at least, even if you let Skyler see it, at least make him earn it, right? Now, as this 5 ball lined up to the corner he's standing near. I wouldn't say he's made a ton of mistakes. The jump shot wasn't the best. He had a long pot miss on the 2. I felt like he had to go for. But normally when a player's, you're a little behind, maybe a mistake or 2, you got to really earn it, it seems. Made a nice shot hit there, and he needs another one right behind it. And that was clean. Massive crowd around the Federer-Gorsh Amaretto table. Oh no, this may be too much. It's going to slow down, but you could hear a little sound from Skyler. Didn't like it at first.
It's the sound of silence on table 10. Everyone's so intent on this match. Fedor-Gorsh on the 7 ball, 3 pots away from surviving again as he did last night against Luong Doc Tien. He's taking the hardest road possible into single elimination. He lost his first match to Mustafa Alner. Then it was only a time foul that allowed him to get in to win 9-7 yesterday, and now he's been taken to the wire by Kyle Amorotto. All of the leading contenders would love to see the back of Fedor-Gorsh. They want him out of the way. Kyle Amorotto could have done all of them a massive favour. He still could. This 9 ball could go astray.
Yeah, there'll be a little bit of a stretch here on the 9, and you could see when he shot the 8, he immediately had a lot of look at the speed of the cue ball.
Woodward pulls one back.
Skyler Woodward wins the
on
wrap.
the TV table. Now live, full screen, full concentration. Come on! And Fedor, fully invested in that match, just over the line by the skin of his teeth. He defeats Kyle Amorotto by 9 racks to 8. Single elimination beckons.
Yeah, and if you total up the games won and lost in this tournament, you would think he'd be out of it, right? 2 wins at 9-8, one loss at 9-3, but still got a heartbeat here in this Whirlpool Championships, and we'll see how it goes for Federer Gorst tomorrow.
Putting the cue away, all kinds of thoughts going through his mind. The overwhelming emotion, pure and simple relief.
Yeah, absolutely. Fans all over the world, and you know, young Kyle, though, you got to give it to him as well. I'm sure he played one heck
Rack
of a
8.
match, and
Skyler Woodward to break.
maybe one thing or
5
another.
racks
I
to
think
2.
it was a dry break in the last, is what I kind of feel like. Federer getting out of his chair quickly after the balls were broke.
And one final postscript to that. So often in cue sports you see one of the game's biggest players struggle early on and then suddenly blossom. Maybe Gorst will do that as the tournament goes into the second half.
Yeah, you got to figure he's going to get nothing but better, that's for sure, from what we've seen so far. So, like you said, many players interested, so many fans, and of course none more than Federer Gorst himself. So, decent break off there. Cue ball was down low with the 2, but the green 6 got in the way, and I think after that early foul with the jump when it was a bit close, I believe, on the opening break, maybe it was, I think he's going to stay away from the short cue here and try and grind out game number 8 to cut this lead.
Max, it's your choice.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about this push out. Not saying he had a lot of options, that's for sure, but the 2 ball's frozen. Not sure what Max can do. Can he bank the 2 back down table, kind of use the 6 to go hold the cue ball? Maybe use those balls in the middle of the table as a lot of cover. I really don't see a lot of options here at all. About the only one I see really is, like I said, bank the 2 down, maybe 2 rails towards the 7. Try and use a high ball to go into the 6 to hold the rock. Yeah, like that. Still left a gap. Expected the cue ball to maybe slide off the 6 a bit over. And got to stay positive, though. Usually you're going to get chances to make a comeback.
Extension call.
You know, you think about Sufi, right? One thing about him, and just watching him, you know, we have a few screens here. We're in a special spot here in the comms boxes. The way his, you know, playing style is, he's not thinking about that $250,000 prize for first prize at all, it seems. He's just kind of doing his thing like he normally does, and got to really appreciate it, I tell you.
And I think Woodward will appreciate that. Overcutting the 2, Lechner.
Yeah, I think his first missed ball of the match.
Extension
It
call.
was the long ball, which he's been really good at so far. He's got to maybe, can he draw across? Can he pull it underneath the 8? I think that's a little tough. Maybe draw it across one rail between the pink and the purple. is stopped just in time. Not in total command of the cue ball at the moment. Had a couple of them get away in this match. May have to jump this, and if he does, I think it'll be with the full cue, really. It's so small, the snooker behind the 8. Now if he levels out, he has it. Oh, he may have to spin this a hair. Yeah, that's what he tried to do, is slick table. It doesn't want to grab, and sometimes it deflects a little more. What a big moment in this match.
Looks crestfallen in his chair. Just when it seemed as though he's got a head of steam, that happens. In fact, it wasn't that shot, it was the one before. The loss of position that hurt the most.
Yeah, I think from that slight angle on the pink, he never dreamed that he could stun the cue ball one rail that far over. And, you know, all kinds of ways to stop the cue ball with tip position and speed. And if you need that subtle swerve, best to use a little lower tip. That way the cue ball doesn't deflect quite as much. But it was always going to be difficult on the slick table. He's got to pay attention here. I don't think he has to get close. Just make sure you don't get snookered or some kind of awkward cueing. Oh, this has got a ton of speed. This could be the mistake that Max will regret.
Foul stroke. Ball in hand.
Well, I don't like to use the word, but I think
Please stop
here
the clock.
it fits like a glove. Clumsy.
Yeah, I said it. You don't have to get close. You just have to get out in between the 7 and 8, 8 and 9, excuse me. I mean, he's striking the ball nicely. You know, that's where we talk about it sometimes. Other sports, they have that caddy or coach and just may remind you how well you're playing, and let's not have a big error.
Well, in rack 8, it was success on a plate for Skyler Woodward after the scratch from Max Lechner that was entirely unnecessary. It is 5-3, and bear in mind, at one point, Woodward trailed 5-1. Over on table 4, Pia Filler is just starting out against Hunter Lombardo. Couple of racks in the books, and they've been shared. The 5 fails to find the target, though.
Yeah, that's not a usual miss for Pia. That's why she does so well in these events, is that she's super solid with the open table. Not always, you know, as much power as some of the other players, but really smart with the cue ball and very efficient again when they're open.
Rack 9. Skyler Woodward to break. Trailing 5 racks to 3.
Chris Melling, who won our previous match on the main table, could not sort out the break at all. You would expect more from Skyler Woodward, but no one's guaranteed to knock in a ball. He didn't there. It's dry. And that's just what Max Lechner needed after that expensive enough.
Yeah, he can cue the ball nicely too to fall behind the blue 2 for the same. Oh my. And that's that quick one that causes a little more deflection. Tends to hit the ball a little heavy, and an ad break coming after this game, and maybe good for both players. Wow, what a miss there.
We've seen this before from Max Lechner, playing a whole succession of racks very well. And then one mistake undermines his confidence, and he starts to deteriorate as Woodward starts to hit some form. That one ball was perhaps the best shot of the match so far.
One of the best shots of the day, I'll tell you. I think probably Shaw's 8 ball is still the best shot I've seen all day. That was way earlier. On what is it, Wednesday?
Yeah, it's like that film, isn't it? If it's Tuesday, it must be Belgium. That was about an American tourist in Europe. If it's Wednesday, it must be losers qualification.
Yeah, well, pretty nice speed there on that ball. Nice to get nice and heavy on a tough pink here. A little covered up by the brown. Now, can he come straight across? Does he have to go 3 rails? Looks like it's probably got to be 3 rails here. A little bit of left spin. And after a couple really big mistakes here by Lechner, maybe good. He's gonna get a little 2-minute break after this rack is cleared by Skyler. Now you can't take anything for granted, and I certainly am not, but these are pretty easy.
Skyler Woodward wins the rack.
The Skyler Woodward rearguard action continues, aided and abetted by Max Lechner. It was a scratch in the previous rack. In that one, it was a missed 1 ball. All in all, Woodward is right back in the contest. This is the scene in Jeddah. We're in the Prince Abdullah Al Faisal City Sports Hall next to that wonderful soccer stadium that's lit up in the darkness. It's a 9-ball here for Chang Junlin on table 2 to possibly draw level with Mohamed Soufi at 4 racks each. I'm watching this live from my commentary position. It's a little thinner than it might appear on your screens. Chang solves the mystery though. It is 4-4. One of many matches currently going on that's really, really tight.
Thank you, rack 10. Skyler Woodward's break, trailing 5 racks to 4.
Not good news for Darren Appleton. 5-3 down to the Filipino Patrick Gonzalez.
Yeah, we'll let Skyler break the balls here. Ooh, a little thin. Little fortunate. It's going to open up. It's not. He's going to be snookered, but you know, Phil, you know, for a guy that doesn't play a ton of pool or cue sports, but you do play and know the game, I just still can't put my finger on, you know, what we've had from Chang Junlin, you know, post-pandemic, and you know, I consider him really like top 5 or 10 in the world prior to that, and we just haven't had the results from him, and it just baffles me.
Well, you're holding the same opinion as Carl Boyes. He's the same. He holds Chang Junlin in very high regard, and he is equally surprised.
Yeah, well, I know he started to play some of that Chinese 8-ball, of course, when he couldn't leave. No one could leave their own country, right, or go anywhere. But of course, the sport has gotten tougher and tougher with the World 9-Ball Tour. But again, just got to figure he's going to break out. Always on the business end
Push out
before.
called. Extension call.
Yeah, this is going to be a difficult push out. Doesn't want to take on the jump without a reward on the red 3. The one thing about sometimes with the jump cue, it's a little more difficult to draw the cue ball versus when I played, we jumped a lot of times with full cues, and you could get a little more weight into it and be able to put the backspin. Doesn't want to move the 3, though. You don't want to move that into position.
Max, it's your choice.
Now again, he's got the cue ball off the rail on a push out, and I think he didn't want to leave it on the rail in a too tough of a position, worried that Max may return the shot back to Skyler, but still a little tricky. Yeah, nice control. I think he expected the 2 to be a little more towards the 3 here. Definitely left a makeable jump. Now, can he hold the cue ball, dig into the cue ball a little bit to maybe come into the 9 off one cushion? And that's what caused the miss, trying to dig on the cue ball.
The 2 remains hanging in the jaws of the pocket, and even though Lechner can't get through to the 2 directly, there are other ways.
Yeah, I think he can nip it in. He could double kiss it in if he had to. Yeah, I think it's pretty easy. Got the angle off the rail with the cue ball. Not an easy layout, though. He's got a 5-ball that's covered up. 4 up table. He's got some work. Not sure he wanted to come down and get really straight or even off angle a bit. He may have to draw the cue ball. A little speed in this, coming one rail back and back over to the right side of the table.
After that mid-match crisis for Max Lechner, this is a much-needed rack. It was 3 racks in succession for Skyler Woodward, from 5-1 down to 5-4. For now,
Max
the
Lechner wins the rack.
rot has been stopped. You look around this evening, players all over this arena trying to remain in the event for the single elimination phase, the last 64 tomorrow. Looking good. Ian Pikignac, 8-4 up on John Morra, so he's on the hill. Pia Filler, we saw her miss a 5-ball earlier that she shouldn't have missed. Well, it's not affected her concentration or her resolve, because she's now 3-2 up on Hunter Lombardo. 2-2, Ahmed Al-Jabbar of Saudi Arabia against Mickey Kraus. Georgi Georgiev and Francesco Candela of Bulgaria and Italy, respectively, 3-3. So too, 3-3. Niels Fine and James Aronas, tough to call a winner there. Jeremy Sosi and Billy Thorpe, 4-4. Jeffrey Ignacio, who came so close to beating Kopin Yi earlier in the championship, he's 5-3 up on Jan van Lierop. Shane Walford, who made his debut in the Moskeny Cup last December, trails Wojciech Szewczyk of Poland, 4-2. Good to see Wojciech here. Anton Raga, 6-3 over James Georgiadis, the Australian World Cup player. On table 1, Chang Yulong in very good shape against Hamza Ali of Eritrea, leading 6-1. David Al-Kaidi, European Open champion, the reigning European Open champion. He's 2-0 up on Shea Chia Chen, who we saw this afternoon against Joshua Filler. Badr Alawadi has taken the opening rack against Daniel Guttenberger. And Fitim Aradanaj leads 2-0 against Besar Spahiu. You're right up to date.
And Badr Alawadi really played the best match I've seen to take a loss. Really hardly any mistakes. Mario, he had a couple in that match in that winner's qualification, but was behind, but got the break going and sat his opponent down for a few racks and closed it out. Now, got to go here, I think. It's not easy, but I think you have to go for this cut shot. There is an alley to come up and down the table. Maybe I'm looking at it. Maybe it's a bit thin, but sure seems playable. Can roll his ball off the right side, I believe, and try and play the snooker behind the 8. Could bank the 2 away, but we'll get a head-on view here in a moment. I really think the 2 is cuttable. Yeah, he's got to shoot at this. Got to take a chance here. Got to play to win. Let the cue ball just run. Some 18 feet up and down the table.
Foul. Touch the 9. Ball in hand.
Touch the 9. All ball fouls.
Please start the
touch
clock.
Anything.
It must have been the most marginal graze, because it didn't seem to move to me.
No, I wish we had a little closer camera look at it.
That said, the referee Ben Taylor Fuente is extremely good at his job, so I'm not going to doubt that decision. But from what we were seeing, the 9 didn't move.
Yeah, and Max didn't really question much, and you know, we have a lot of video on these matches usually, so a lot of players will ask about the video if they really believe they didn't make a foul in any situation, really.
Yeah, the other salient point is that the 9 didn't need to move to be a foul. He might just have been resting against it, unbeknownst to himself, Max Lechner, but it might well be expensive. Ben Taylor Fuente, one of the best in the business.
And I tell you, I was kind of, after the foul was called and we
Extension
saw the
call.
replay, of course, you're not going to pay attention to it so much or maybe notice it while the shot's going on. You know, he didn't have to really bridge that close. Could have really adjusted his bridge, so it was a little surprising to be that close to the 9 anyways. Does the 4-5 go here? Does he have to play a combo?
It was clearly tight, and now, yeah, the cue goes into the carpet. Woodward can't quite believe it.
Yeah, and it certainly had more room than that. He wouldn't try to play it off that point. And if you ever play into a half a pocket, you always want to be on the opposite side of where he was. Kind of helps the object ball a bit. Got to go a little. It's got to go. Good thing the 6 has a pocket to the upper right. I believe he is shootable. The 7, I don't think it passes the 9, or maybe it's tight. But that's a bit of an error there. I mean, that wasn't that hard, you know, to draw the cue ball another 2 or 3 feet there, or even a foot would have done it.
Extension call.
As the line is drawn closer, as we've gone deeper into the match, there's no doubt that Lechner's accuracy, control has been downgraded.
Is he trying to get to the side rail here? Thought, yeah. Yeah, but I was wondering, I mean, looked like to me he could cue it with a little inside spin and get to the top cushion and kind of come directly at the 7. Of course, the camera fools us all the time, and these players are at the table and will always know best. Can he even attack here? Even though the 8's over the corner, is the cut shot really a percentage play? Whew. Easy to hit this a hair heavy. Well, that's class to recover there.
That kind of shot designed to restore equilibrium, to restore the confidence he had in taking that 5-1 lead.
Max Lechner wins the rack.
When you were captain of the Mosconi Cup, Jeremy, I remember Skyler Woodward missed a 5-ball that cost the Americans dear. It cost him dear, the missed 5-ball there, in different circumstances. Max Lechner tightening his grip. Now back over to table 2. We've been flitting in and out all evening. I can tell you Mohamed Soufi, in a really tight affair, is back in front at 5-4. It's thrust and counter thrust. Chang Junlin at the table, so consequently we know he's hooked on the 2.
Yeah, and speaking of, you know, ball fouls here, this is one you always have to be worried about. He's hitting a lot of right English on this. He's got to cue away and spin into the 2, so the cue stick will be going a little right. So he's got to watch out for the 7. He's going to make more of a tidy stroke, you might say, to make sure he doesn't foul. What a nice hit.
Just thinking, you know, about the Max Lechner foul on the 9-ball in the previous rack, which didn't cost him in the end. It's been an extraordinary tournament for brain freezes. We saw the time foul this afternoon. Long Doctien didn't nominate a push out last night that cost him against Fedor Gorsht. And who knows, as the stakes increase and the pressure does so too, I think we're going to see more and more mental slip-ups.
Yeah, we talk about, you know, you got to keep your brain throughout the rack and shot selection and, of course, how you're cueing the ball and different things. And really never talk about those types of mental errors, but they do happen. I know as well as anyone, Phil. Now, the big decision here. I don't think he can get to the right side of the blue two, so he's got to play his safety. Is he going to just push through, trying to put the cue ball behind the 6, trying to utilize the pink?
Foul stroke. Ball in hand.
The old direct.
Please start the clock.
Well, I thought that was a pretty hard play there anyways. I think he changed his mind at the last minute as well. Looked like he was aiming initially before he got up off the ball to kind of push through on the 2. And, you know, physical mistakes, they're going to happen to all of us. You know, some mental errors at times, but you can't judge it too poorly. And I think the percentages was against Max in that situation, coming off the left side of the blue.
Yeah, the pocket was always there, wasn't it? He's already handed some racks to Skyler Woodward, and this looks like being another. Given Woodward's fighting qualities, given the fact that Max Lechner sometimes has difficulty getting over the line, I think there's a lot of pool left in this one. I personally believe that Skyler Woodward has a wonderful chance to pull this out of the fire. I really do. Not just this rack, the match.
Yeah, I feel the same. He's got to break the balls well. Something that in the past at times has left him, but something he's super confident in, you know, this year in 2024. And caught that a little thick. Should get this down though to cut the lead.
Skyler Woodward wins the rack.
The gap is again reduced to 2. Woodward still involved. And for Lechner, the pressure, well, they could be building right up to the max. We're in the beautiful city of Jeddah on the Red Sea in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, that fan zone outside. Well, I've been to a lot of Q Sports events over the years, more than I care to remember. I've never seen anything quite like that. I think my view of that fan zone has been greatly improved by the ice cream I had out there earlier this evening, which was just beautiful. Strawberries and cream and a scoop of vanilla. You can't beat it.
Rack 13. Skyler Woodward to break, trailing 7 racks to 5.
Okay, I don't think he has a pocket for the blue two. Not a reasonable one anyways. Couple ways to play safe here. I like chopping and running the cue ball. I know it's a little risky and there's certainly some gaps, but let's see. Coming one rail behind the 8. That's awfully touchy. I like cutting the 2 real thin onto the near the 6. You can come down near the 3. You can come behind the 9. Just got to pick your path. Good play to put the. All right, he's coming behind the 8, so this is a touchy one. Doesn't want to leave a jump either. Should be okay to get the snooker. That's what I worried about, hitting the 6. Yeah. And he almost knew it. He knew it was a gamble. This is funny though. I mean, does Max? He's certainly not going to slow roll it. I'd go ahead and let the stroke come out and go at the 5 with the cue ball here. He doesn't want to play this with inside spin. Oh, great hit. Pushed through the ball nicely, and yeah, a little worried about that one for Max, just because he's had a few get away.
Now, my pronunciation consultant, Michael McMullen, has told me that I've been saying this gentleman's name incorrectly. Well, I can tell you, Aydin Pikniach has beaten John Morra 9-5.
Yeah, and I watched some of the games early in that match just from afar, and I really got a chance to see John a few times just because of, you know, like watching him play anyways. And of course we had a comms match with him. He was in front of me actually with a win. He just never really seemed to get his game going this week. Couldn't really tell you one reason or another, but you know, he's not the only one, right?
It's looking better for another North American, Hunter Lombardo from the USA. He's now 5-3 up on Pierre Filler from 3-2 down.
Yeah, and another American who seems to be playing very well, and you know, from what I've seen, I think he's really played the best pull of his life here of late is Billy Thorpe, up 7-4 over another American, Jeremy Sose. Very solid player from New York. Had a birthday yesterday, Jeremy did. Okay, don't let this one get away. Little simple stun out to the middle. Yeah, I was a little worried about it. I am not gonna lie, Phil. It's just the type of shot. When you have that type of technique and the pressure's on, you tend to maybe quit at the cue ball a little bit. You tend to create a little bit of a kick on the object ball, and just had a feeling.
Outstanding knowledge, Jeremy. I can tell you folks back home, Jeremy was shaking his head on that shot. He knew what was going to happen, or at least he suspected what was going to happen.
Yeah, I thought it was a possibility. It was just the type we've seen before, and not just with Max. Like I said, there's certain techniques when the pressure's on, you really have to kind of almost be conscious to be a little calmer. And from here, you know, well, that's way light. So he's going to have to come with one here. So it's been a bit scrappy on both ends. It's been good at times as well. Problem for Max is, you know, Skyler, he likes the end of matches. So Max may not get many opportunities if Skyler happens to get out here. It's got to go a bit as well. Yeah. All those shots right there, not necessarily underhit it, but it's just how you hit the pocket with the object ball. Catch it a little to the thick side, which it looks like he probably did. Cost you about a foot of cue ball or so. He went all out for it. And look at the cueing he's going to leave. Wow.
When pool players wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, this is the kind of
Extension
shot
call.
that induces that kind of nightmare. Horrible, horrible. Let's throw in another horrible.
Yeah. You know, this cueing, if the object ball's a foot away, is super uncomfortable. Now you're in the biggest tournament ever. It's 6 feet away. You've made a few mistakes coming in after a great start. Wow. Hats off there, Max Lechner, to get to the hill as well.
It wiped its feet, as they say, but we'll give him a free pass on that one. That was terrific cueing. What a way to win the rack. Looked as though he might have thrown it away. Instead, he's 3 in front with 4 to play. Max Lechner 8-5 up. Also on the hill, Anton Raga. In fact, as I speak, the Dragon has beaten James Georgiadis of Australia 9-4, so Raga into the last 64. Chang Yulong almost there. He leads Eritrea's Amza Ali 8-2. And Jeffrey Ignacio, another on the hill, up 8-3 against Jan van Lierop of the Netherlands. Talk about fluctuating fortunes, Jeremy.
Yeah, Phil, and you know, when you see something happen again and again, and what a great 8-ball recovery, though, you do have to give it to him there, even though, again, he hit it a little on the high side, but that's how you're going to aim on that shot anyways. But, you know, when do you address it, Phil, whenever things like this is no coincidence, right, for Lechner having these issues, and, of course, Skyler having some himself in this match, but it's the same type of issues as well. I think at some point you have to really look at it in the mirror and say, what am I going to do about it? Am I going to look for help? Am I going to seek help? Am I going to realize what's going on physically? And now
foul
a
stroke,
scratch on the break.
Ball in hand.
Is this the start of something big from Woodward?
Please start the clock.
It's been that kind of match. Just when you think a rack is going to go one way, it goes the other. Woodward not happy to be in this position, of course he isn't. But there will be no thoughts of inevitable defeat, because it's not inevitable.
Yeah, nice shot there, recognizing to open the purple up with a little nudge on the brown. Not too difficult here, not a whole lot to worry about. Just going to really draw the cue ball up the right side rail. Big gap between the 8-9 to get at the 6 after he plays the 5, so he's going to cheat it the other way, and I don't understand why he did that. He's got to know for coming across the spot angle there that the cue ball really wants to be slick and act very slick on a slick table.
I think we have to say it here, by his standards, because he's a magical player. By his standards, this has not been a good performance. Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of times he recovers well with, you know, bank shots and incredible shots, very good safeties. But it's been, you know, a cast of few things in this match that we just didn't expect, and the cue ball there was definitely not one of them. There's that bank I was talking about.
And that's why I put in the disclaimer, not yet anyway.
Yeah, absolutely, Phil. And certain players that do a lot of special things in the game, and this kid here is certainly one of them. And a stun here.
Twice Mosconi Cup MVP. If you can deal with that pressure and thrive, prosper in the cauldron, you're well capable of turning this around.
Skyler Woodward wins the rack.
8-6. Mickey Krause 5-2 upon Ahmed Al-Jabbar of Saudi Arabia. The number of players from the host nation dwindling down. Patrick Gonzalez finding out that Darren Appleton is a fighter on and off the table. It's 7-7 there. Georgi Georgiev from Bulgaria 6-4 upon Francesco Candela. It's 7-4 now for Mohamed Soufi over Chang Junlin on table 2, the closest table to our commentary position. James Aranas 5-4 over Niels Fine, former winner of this tournament. Billy Thorpe 7-4 over Jeremy Sosi. Wojciech Szewczyk. It's tight against Shane Walford at 5-4 to the pole. David Al-Kadi 2-1 on Shea Chia-Chin. Petri Makinen has taken the first rack from Dang Junhu.
Rack 15. Skyler Woodward to break. Trailing 8 racks to 6.
And I think both these players, well, of course not Max, he'd like to win it right here, but the guy breaking, I think he would like to win this game and be able to walk out of the arena trying to get 2 more.
Dissatisfied with that in so many different ways, Skyler Woodward.
Yeah, you could hear some comments, something about the layout here with the 1 and the 2. The 7-8 tied up, but you know, no matter who goes on to win this match, the guy on the bad end of things, as you would say, is going to have regrets about more than just one shot. It's going to be 2 or 3 or 4.
Let me quickly tell you another result. Chang Yulong from Chinese Taipei has beaten Hamza Ali of Eritrea 9-2. Quite a lengthy match, even though it was one-sided.
Yeah, that one of 2 things. It's either shots after the break, some dry breaks, or maybe a bit of struggles. A lot of pressure out there. And, you know, for the most part, I've seen improvement overall in the play. It was pretty scrappy the first day as a whole. But you know, these are long days, Phil. I commented about the difference in some players where today's players, what I love about them so much is, for the most part, they really don't sulk after a loss so much. Now, we've seen it in some finals after, you know, even like an Albin Ocean, some of the great players really take it hard and understandable. But when they're still in the tournament and they take a loss, they really can leave it behind.
I wonder whether history is about to repeat itself here, you know. Mohamed Soufi, the Syrian runner-up last year, has beaten Chang Junlin. He turned on the Jets towards the end of that match, winning by 9 racks to 4. He rattles through racks and he can turn a match on its head in a matter of moments.
And it's, you know, Soufi, of course, his style can get anyone on edge just because the way he plays, and it's So incredible how the balls he knocks in. Of course, he can clear a rack in seconds, it seems, but big shot here. Winning shot if he can knock it in and get shaped. Pretty natural to go 2 cushions at the 8. What a nice shot. Got through the ball better than he expected, probably. We're probably going to lose Skyler Woodward unless a real big miss. But the one that still baffles me is just, where's Chang Jong Lin been?
He's had these worrying moments in this match. Moments of genuine concern, Max Lechner. He has made mistakes, plenty of them. But it looks as though he's going to get the W.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, good thing for Max, and what a great out he made. The 8 jacked up in the last game, but good thing he got that lead early, possibly. That may have been the difference.
Max Lechner wins the
Austria's
match,
finest player, Albin Auschen, might be out of this championship, but Max Lechner, look at him. He's loving life and he's through to single elimination. I'm afraid, though, Skyler Woodward, the US Mosconi Cup captain, is going home, beaten by 9 racks to 6. Max is not mad this evening.
I don't need to wear a crown to know